Well, it's the perfect place to start another massive season of Australian motorsport. The Clipsal 500 Street Circuit in Adelaide, and it's round one of the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series. Now, amazingly, this is the 9th year of the development series for V8 Supercar racing. And this year there's 7 rounds. It ends at Owen Park Raceway in Sydney. The grand finale in December. There's a full field of 30 cars set to take on the streets of Adelaide. And as always in the off-season, there's been plenty of changes in drivers, teams and cars. And with all the latest of what's been happening in the off-season, here's Bryony Ingerson.
Quite the marvel.
For the first time in the sport, the top 3 from last year's Fujitsu series have all graduated to the main game, making way for some new faces in 2008. Reigning Carrera Cup champion David Reynolds steps out of a Porsche and into a Holden V8 Supercar for his first year in the development series.
The move's been quite good so far. I've learnt a lot about these cars, and they're quite a different car to drive than any other car I've ever driven before in my whole life. Yeah, it's got a great pedigree, this car. It's won last year's Fujitsu series with Tony D'Alberto and the 2006 main Supercar series with Rick Kelly, so, you know, I'm the weakest link now.
Former Carrera Cup Rookie of the Year Michael Trimble is also making the step into the Fujitsu series.
My ultimate goal is obviously to be in the V8 Supercar main game. The best way to try and crack into the big leagues is to get in those cars and get as many miles in them as you can.
Jack Perkins left the V8 Championship Series last year to focus on his battle with diabetes, but now makes a welcome return to the Fujitsu field.
It's just good to be back driving again. You know, obviously standing down is not an easy thing to do. Watch someone drive your own race car. So look, I think we can definitely win a few races. There's obviously a few experienced guys out there, guys that used to race against my old man. They've been around that long, but look, I think it'll be a bit of fun. It's probably the most competitive the series has ever been, and if we can win a few races and sneak up there in the championship, I'm sure that's going to be more than enough.
Perkins is joined by former main game driver and 2-time Fujitsu Series champion Dean Canto.
I'm expecting to have a good run. Obviously, you can never sort of rule out mechanical issues, but these guys prepare a really strong car. I think they've got a pretty strong track record, but yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll come on, finish the year on top.
While Canto has his sights set on the championship trophy, some drivers are just hoping to find a way to make it onto the grid for the rest of the year. Steve Owen is hoping his one-off drive in the Scott Loadsman-owned VZ will extend beyond the Clipsal round, as is Grant Denyer.
My racing plans for 2008 are as short as I am. Clipsal 500, that's it. So we're going to run the development series for this event, purely because it is the best touring car event in the world.
But with the likes of Jonathan Webb, Dale Wood and Marcus Sukanovic, rest assured the series regulars won't make it an easy fight for the 2008 title.
Back in the Fujitsu series, the 2-time series champ Dean Canto broke the qualifying lap record to take his 7th career Fujitsu pole and pick up the Armour All Pole Award.
In pole positions where everyone wants to start, and it was a tough session. If you got a lap together, basically you were looking pretty good. So yeah, we came out on top, pretty strong lap time, comparable to the main series. So really looking forward to the rest of the weekend.
Let's take a look at the Clipsal 500 Street Circuit. 14 turns, Jason Barguana, a real driver's challenge.
It is, and up into turn 4 this year, bumps more than we've ever seen before. The famous turn 8 with a new surface on that. It should be interesting to see how it goes this year.
This is one of the great challenges in Aussie motor racing, and Dean Canto, to start from pole position, he took 0.4 of a second away from his own qualifying record for the Fujitsu series a few years ago. And look at this, cars all the way down the pit straight.
Certainly a mixed up qualifying session with the clouds overhead. They decided to combine it, really mixed it up for the boys, but put a lot of pressure on. And you'll see the 3 main guys from the main series last year at the front.
Plenty of cars, plenty of names. Dean Canto will start from pole position as they roll away now on the warm-up lap. Jack Perkins, the Mack Trucks Commodore, on the outside of row 1. And Steve Owen taking over the Tintercar Commodore. He's on row 2.
Absolutely, and you can see that obviously the experience has shone through with those guys into the first round of the championship. Good to see Grant Denyer on the 4th row of the grid in the Matthew White Racing car.
Jonathan Webb's going to start from position 12 after an engine failure during qualifying. And the Carrera Cup champ, David Reynolds, a little bit further back in the pack, starting from 19th.
Yeah, look, probably a little bit disappointed with that. He's obviously come away from winning the Career Cup Championship expecting big things, but I think he'll shine through as the year goes on.
Brett Holdsworth makes his debut in the Fujitsu Series from position 25. The younger brother of Lee Holdsworth, and driving a car that his brother, in fact, used to drive. This is the Opus Prime in-car. Marcus Sakanovic is going to start from position 15. Quite a bit of work for him to do. Let's start 2008, the Fujitsu Series on the streets of Adelaide. Dean Canto to the left in the Howard Racing Falcon. Jack Perkins in the Independent Race Cars Commodore, and it's the Falcon with the jump to the centre chicane.
Oh, Dean's got a fantastic start. The nerves are high. The boys haven't raced for a couple of months now, so into the first corner. Hopefully they all get through here cleanly.
Canto has checked out the run through the first chicane. No problems there. He leads from Perkins. Matthew White, position 3. Dale Wood is 4th. Steve Owen shuffled back.
Yeah, you obviously just want to get through this first lap cleanly. No touching, no rubbing. Just make sure there's no bent steering. A street circuit like this, there's not a lot of room for error, so everyone's very nervous, just jostling for position, make sure they can settle into the race.
Dale Wood, last year's Mike Cable Young Gun of the Year, position 4 in the new look A&I Helicopter Services car for Greg Murphy Racing. He's already all over the back of Matthew White, who is having a run again this weekend. The long run down through the Dunlop sweeper, and already the top 2 are getting away, and Dale Wood and Steve Owen are trying to get by this Falcon.
Okay, you see Steve Owen there trying to make a move on Dale Wood. Dean Canto and Jack Perkins, that experience is really shining now. They've bolted away on the cold tyres and started to open up a little bit of a gap.
Now Steve Owen has taken over the Tinter Car Commodore, normally driven by Scott Loadsman, the team owner, who's elected to put Steve in that car. And Steve said this weekend, in fact, that his motivation levels have been a little bit down, but he's looking pretty speedy at the moment. He's by Dale Wood down at turn 14 in car with Marcus Sakanovic.
Yeah, he caught Dale napping a little bit there, but as you can see, obviously, Marcus pushing hard. He started back in about 15th place, moved up a fair bit on the opening lap. Got a bit of work to do.
Well, Dale Wood sideways on the exit of the chicane, but it's Canto the leader. Jack Perkins, position 2 in the new look Mack Trucks Commodore. That's an ex-Perkins Engineering Jack Daniel chassis, now being run by Marty Brandt's Independent Race Cars with a second car for Michael Trimble. But Dean Canto has hooked up with the 2006 championship winning team, the Howard Racing organisation. How good does this car look? Jack Perkins fired up, bouncing back in the Fujitsu Series.
Absolutely, for both these guys. Obviously, Dean had a full season in the main game last year. He's come into the Fujitsu Series again with a championship winning team, a really competitive team. And, that was close.
Matthew White at turn 8, and that's going to leave him vulnerable at 9. Steve Owen takes 3rd spot from his former Britec teammate.
Oh, that was close. I mean, obviously, he's just come through there. The car slid a little bit, and Steve Owen was in a position to capitalise. And now you can see Steve's got the blinkers on, and he's off after these front 2. Oh, and the car slides coming out of there as well. You notice, Aaron, around the circuit, there's puddles of water. They're on apexes, they're on curbs. The cars are very slippery in these conditions. Steve's pushing very hard, as you can see, to try and catch these guys. But if you notice, the guys have got to be a little bit careful. The rain's still hanging around, the puddle's still hanging around from earlier on the day.
Looking back from the Opus Prime Commodore of Marcus Sakanovic, he's got a big mission today, starting 15th. He's going to drive for the Autobahn team at the Enduros, but it's Dean Canto who leads race 1 of the Fujitsu V8 Supercars. So keep it coming. Back on the streets of Adelaide, race 1 in the Fujitsu V8 Supercars, and this is Jonathan Webb in the Stone Brothers Falcon, all over the back of Marcus Sakanovic, and Carl Reindler in the second Howard Racing Falcon, on debut in the V8 Supercars, making up a spot.
Webb was very busy then, trying to overtake Sakanovic and left the gate open for Reindler to come through. Obviously, he's lost that spot and chance to actually overtake and went back one.
Carl Reindler, the former A1 Team Australia driver, drove in the recent Daytona 24-hour, and he is adapting well here, up the inside of Marcus Sakanovic.
Late on the brakes, Marcus was smart enough to just open the steering a little and make sure that he wasn't taken out in the process. It was a good move.
A great dice here on the run back into the racecourse section. Here is the replay, but Matthew White just grazing the concrete wall through the Dunlop sweep. But David Reynolds in the championship winning car from last year goes around at the exit of turn 9. But here is the fight for second spot. Jack Perkins and Steve Owen, who is on a charge.
Steve's really got the eyes on, hasn't he? You can just see that he's got the the attitude around the car. And here he goes down the inside of Jack. Jack's certainly made that a bit easy for him. But Steve's the man on the charge at the moment.
The Supercar Commodore now hunting down the Howard Racing Ford, and Jack Perkins picking up some backing this weekend from AccuCheck Performer. Of course, he suffers from type 1 diabetes. This is a test for blood glucose readings. It's a meter that adjusts for the temperature and humidity, so it's the perfect device from a racetrack weekend.
There's my teammate, Grant Daniel, from last year. He drove with us. He's doing a great job in 7th place at the moment for Matthew White Racing. He was a bit uncertain of the future for this year, but great to see him back out at Adelaide doing such a great job.
Hasn't been able to test this car before the opening round in Adelaide. In fact, Matthew White drove both the cars at a test day at Winton last week. Here's Michael Trimble in the Global Jet Commodore. This is a sister car to the Jack Perkins machine, running with Global Jet backing, and last year's Carrera Cup Rookie of the Year, son of former V8 Supercar privateer John Trimble.
You can just see the cars moving around under turn 4 there. The car jumps up and down off the road. I was talking to a lot of the guys. Obviously, I'm not driving, so I can't tell myself, but talking to a lot of guys about the brake control that you need through turn 4 to get the car to turn in and still have a good balance about it.
Carl Reindler's continuing his charge forward. Mark McNally is next on the list, and this car of Mark McNally living at Brad Jones Racing in Albury this year. It's going to be prepared from the Team BOC Outfits workshop. Here's Steve Owen taking the lead from Dean Canto at turn 9. So from 3rd on the grid, he slipped to 5th. He now leads.
He's really pushing hard. He's making a lot of passing manoeuvres. Clearly the car's coming on as the race goes on. It looks like actually Dean missed a gear there or something.
He's got a drama. That car's slow, and Jack Perkins takes 2nd spot. Now we'll have to monitor this situation because Dean Canto was leading quite comfortably. He's lost the lead, he's lost 2nd. The car looks like it's still carrying some form of power, but it was a pretty easy move down the inside at turn 9.
Yeah, Dean's really dropped off the times. He certainly went from doing mid-23s out to 28s, 30s, that sort of thing. So there obviously is a problem with that car. It's hard to tell what the issue is at the moment, though.
Well, Trimble goes by, and Michael Trimble's been running in position 8. So whatever the problem is here, Canto is slipping all the way back, but he hasn't elected to pit.
Yeah, no, it probably will pit soon. I mean, it's obviously a terminal problem. The car's just going backwards, but what a drive from Steve Owen. He obviously was off the 2nd row of the grid. Dropped back a little bit at the start, now pushed forward all the way to the lead and opening it up.
Scott Loadsman in the background there. And don't you think he's happy about this? Why wouldn't you be? Steve Owen has just set a new lap record for the Fujitsu series here in Adelaide. 1 minute 23.62. That car is hooked up.
The times have been very competitive as Hobson makes a move down the inside. Maybe, maybe not. I think he'll get there. Yeah, he certainly has on Vernick. The times have been very competitive in every category this weekend. Not just the V8 Supercars, but the support categories as well. The circuit is quick. That new resurface in turn 8 has made a big difference.
Having a look at Jay Vernick, the GIO Commodore. This is an ex-Holden Racing Team chassis. In fact, the last time it was on a racetrack, it was shortened by Anthony Tradd at Bathurst in 2006. But he's, I guess, a home team here. Their workshop just 10 minutes away from the streets of Adelaide. But this is Marcus Zukanovich leading Sam Walter in the 2nd of 3 Greg Murphy racing cars this weekend. Brett Hobson, Jay Vernick.
I mean, certainly the quality of the Fujitsu series. Now, you look at the cars that are involved in this, the ones at the front all the way through the top 10. They're ex-pedigree cars. They're cars that have raced at the front end of the main game, and these guys are doing a great job in them.
Steve Owen leading the way in race 1 of the Fujitsu V8 Supercars in Adelaide. It's the opening round of the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series on the streets of Adelaide, and Marcus Zukanovich in the Opus Prime Commodore is under real pressure here from Sam Walter.
He is, and this year, of course, he's got Glenn Seaton in the pits on the other end of the radio talking to him as well. He was a successful driver coach for D'Alberto last year and is now taking on the role with Marcus.
Marcus has got a big year coming up. He's been signed to drive with Paul Dumbrell in the Autobahn HSV Commodore for the LNH 500 at Phillip Island, and also the big one, the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000. He sits position 11 at the moment.
Oh, and Walter down the inside as Zukanovich. Can Hobson go through with him? No, it's all happening. Don't you love V8 Supercar racing? I tell you, thread the needle through these concrete walls around here. It is a bit of a challenge for these guys. They've come out of a couple of months off. They do a little bit of testing and they turn up straight to Adelaide.
Dean Canto in the pits, and they're in the boot of that car there, so some form of a drama there.
Yeah, obviously that problem that was holding him up could be a fuel problem. And very disappointing for Dean, because obviously with a 7-round championship, the points are so valuable. You have to get them, and parked in pit lane doesn't help you.
And this weekend, with 2 races, there's 150 points up for grabs for each race victory. But look at the cars menacing the curbs. It's one thing to attack those curbs and find some pace, but you really need to get them at the right angle.
Well, you do, and the car needs to be set up here to absorb those curbs and bounce off them and still come out in a nice straight fashion to get through the next part of the circuit, to absorb the bumps at turn 4, yet it has to be nice and stiff to go through turn 8, which is where you can make up a lot of time.
It's all second gear stuff through here. Zakanovic a little bit wide on the exit, and Hobson will get him.
Run a little bit wide, that's all it takes, is one slight little mistake, and the car behind is through. Hobson's now side by side. Obviously Marcus will have to give that one in, but yeah, what a great move from Hobson. A little bit of pressure there from Marcus. Maybe the rear tyres are going away a little bit. The setup might not be quite right.
Jay Vernick having a look in the GIO Commodore. Received a $500 fine, in fact, in qualifying for crossing the blend line. But he looks like,
oh yes,
looks like he's got some speed here at the moment.
He's now certainly all over the back of Marcus. So you can see late in the afternoon, the sun becomes a problem here at this circuit as the guys head up out of the centre chicane.
Oh, that was tight, but he managed to thread the needle at turn 14. So Zakanovic, the Opus Prime car, pedalling backwards.
Yeah, a little bit disappointing for Marcus. He made a great start, made a few places up, but obviously slipping back now, probably with rear tyre problems.
Setting off through the chicane up towards turn 4, and the bumps here are the real issue. Look at the cars up and down under the braking zone.
Just watching Marcus through the centre chicane, it's one of the most exhilarating sections of any racetrack in the country. You need to set the car up, 4th gear, very fast. The car bounces from left to right, off the curbs. You catch it all, and then hopefully you're not hitting the fence.
Dale Wood challenging Matthew White for 3rd spot. They've got Tim Slade right in behind them, and Matthew White just goes in both a little bit deep, and Slade will pick up one.
Now that's right on the limit stuff, that. They've both gone out past their braking zones, both run wide, and luckily Wood came out on top.
This is a great job from Tim Slade in the white Commodore there. That's the ex-Shane Price car that finished 2nd in the championship 2 years ago. And Slade is running this car himself under his own Slade Speed banner from Melbourne. Finished 9th in the championship last year. And to be up front driving against an ex-Tasman car and a very well-sorted Matthew White car, he's done a really good job here. But both Wood and White made a mistake, and only one of them paid.
That's right.
Oh, Sam Walter. Smoke from the left front.
Yeah, I'd say we might have had a bit of contact there, or yeah, definitely some contact on the front. So it's pushing the bar back onto that tyre, causing the smoke. Hopefully it'll rub the carbon fibre away, and he won't have a problem. If not, he'll have to stop and get that tyre changed.
The team will be monitoring this on the trackside vision to ensure, but you can see there, it clears through the right-hander, but it seems to be fouling through the left.
Yeah, quite often. It's just a little bit... Oh, here we go.
This is why. Oh, no. Contact with Mark McNally, and
that'll do it.
That looked a little bit sloppy at turn 4. But it's not just Sam Walter and Mark McNally who have their share of problems.
Something pretty small in the car, but obviously it's a big problem. The lift pumps in the fuel tank have stopped working, so no fuel getting into the main pumps and no fuel to the engine. So we're parked here and watch the rest of the race from the sidelines.
Now, while Dean Canto is out, Grant Denyer is on it. He is in front now of his teammate Matthew White, who we're hearing from pit lane just having a few problems with brake fade, and that can be an issue on the streets of Adelaide.
Well, it's a great run for Grant Denyer. Obviously, after last year, he had a few mechanical failures every time he went out, but he's certainly moved up in the grid in this race.
Here's the fight for 3rd and 4th. Dale Wood in the Greg Murphy Racing Commodore, Tim Slade in the Slade Speed Machine. Now, here's the replay of Grant getting by Matthew White. Teammates, you think?
Don't you love teammates when they do this sort of thing?
That was tight. Here's Damien Assaylet in the Fujitsu Ford. He's driving for the Race Image team in the same car that he drove last year, but with some assistance too from Jason Bright.
Coming under pressure as well from Ashley Cooper, who's having, I think it's his 4th start in the the Fujitsu series. He's doing a good job in the ex-Paul Morris car.
Just up in front of them, Mark McNally and Gene Rollinson in the second of the race image cars. Here's the fight for third spot. Dale Wood, Tim Slade using a little bit extra of the curb there.
Yeah, the battle for the podium. Obviously, these guys pushing quite hard. They'd like to come away from the first.
Oh no, Dale Wood locks it up at turn 4.
The bumps got him.
And Tim Slade slips on through.
You can see the way the car goes over the top of those bumps. It leaves the road, and here we are again, another replay. The car leaves the road. You've got to modulate that pedal. All it takes is the slightest of lock-up. It will pull the car off to the off the racing line.
No one has been able to touch this man, Steve Owen, on the final lap in race 1 of the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series. Started from third and has charged his way through to the lead.
Really great result here for Steve. He's pushed hard. He's got to the lead. I chased him at Bathurst last year in those dying conditions with the slippery conditions at Bathurst, and he did a fantastic job. And it's great to see him leading this race here today.
The final couple of corners back into the racecourse section. He's managed to hold the gap back to the Mack Trucks Commodore of Jack Perkins.
That's a great result for Jack as well. I mean, to come back after last year and to go for the podium here today is amazing.
In a return to the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series, Steve Owen will win his first race in the championship, and what a one to do it in. 150 championship points, and Scott Loadsman has been in this series for a few years, and I bet he's never ever felt as good as this.
Well, what a great way to start the season. Steve Owen, first round, first race win. They've come away with a new team looking good.
And a new lap record to boot. The car was absolutely hooked up. He takes the win over Jack Perkins by just over 2 seconds. Tim Slade, great drive in third, and Grant Denyer, a great run in position 5. Jonathan Webb worked his way through to 9th. We go back through. Joel Spicello rounded out the top 20, but a great drive from Steve Owen.
The track was still a little bit patchy, so I thought while everyone's a bit tentative, I'll sort of get a gap, and that way I'm sort of in clear air, I can do my own thing and not get caught up. And I was thankful I did actually, because I caught a lot of back markers, and I'm glad I had 3 or 4 seconds up my sleeve when I got to them, you know.
Having the right engine to perform is just as important in the Fujitsu series as it is in the main championship. And while there are plenty of cars sourced from the main game, the links don't end there, with a myriad of engine deals up and down pit lane that cater for a range of budgets. In the case of Walkinshaw Performance, it's using its expertise to help customer teams. Formerly Todd Kelly's race engineer with Holden Racing Team, Matt Crawford is now the customer liaison engineer for Walkinshaw's engine lease program.
We supply about 6 teams in the development series with lease engines. We try and help them with any technical support that they need, you know, engineering advice on the setup of the car, how they should approach a weekend. It's really, you know, all the different teams have got different levels of help that they require, and we just try and as I said, help them in any way that we can.
While the 3-car Greg Murphy racing outfit has its motors prepared alongside those of sister squad Tasman Motorsport, former championship winning team Howard Racing has tapped into some championship series know-how, sourcing its engines from Dick Johnson Racing.
We've put a deal in place this year for the second time with Dick Johnson Racing to supply us with engines on a lease program, which is a great opportunity for us, and it's also a great opportunity for DJR as well to, I suppose, put their engines into the series and show them how good they are. And from where we sit, we feel our engines are some of the best out there, combined with our chassis. We feel we've got probably some of the strongest Fords out there.
But not all teams in the Fujitsu series are in a position to link up with a bigger team and cash in on their development and technical expertise.
We do our engine work and stuff in-house, you know. Obviously we get a lot of help from other people with it, but no, we don't have HRT or any of their guys coming over here to give it a tweak in between sessions.
Coming up after the break, race 2 in the opening round of the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series.